The story begins with a group of rich people bidding to purchase an island named Green Gulf. After numerous increases from the competitors, the prices grow absurd. But eventually, a businessman named Liu succeeds in acquiring the land after agreeing to pay $20 billion. That night, Liu invites the other business tycoons to a celebration party at his home. He greets everyone warmly, but after a while, they explain that the entire bidding process was a deception intended to make Liu suffer a significant financial loss. They claim that because the land is a protected area and home to numerous dolphins, it's difficult to build real estate there. However, Liu claims that he's acquired a letter of authorization to remove the dolphins using modern technology. Hearing this, the other business people become irritated since their plan has failed miserably. Laughing at his rivals, Liu goes to his party where he's immediately surrounded by a group of gorgeous women. Just then, one of his rivals named Rulan appears and throws her watch into the water. She announces that whoever gets it is allowed to keep it. After hearing that the watch is worth $8 million, all the women dive into the pool to find it. Rulan tries to seduce Liu while telling him that she wants to be a partner in the new project. Liu is also charmed by her and eventually agrees to make a deal. Moments later, a girl wearing strange makeup shows up and interrupts their moment. She tries to approach Liu, but the bodyguards step in and knock her to the ground. However, Liu stops them right away and inquires about the woman. The girl reveals that her name is Shan and gives Liu her number, asking him to call for a date. But Liu is very confused by the situation and urges the security guard to take her away, assuming that she's just a fan. Following that, Shan rides her skateboard and arrives at a house near the Green Gulf. She enters a big cave that leads to a boat, and she turns out to be a real mermaid. Liu was able to secure the building permit on the Green Gulf because he placed multiple pieces of equipment in the oceans that generate powerful sonars in the water. Many mermaids have died due to this, while the rest of the survivors are locked aboard this boat to save themselves. And to stop the cruelty against the water people, their leader, Octopus, intends to kill Liu. Once the sonars are removed from the water, the mermaids can finally return home. So, to carry out their plan, the mermaids have picked Shan, the prettiest one in their group, to carry out their mission to kill Liu. In the meantime, Liu and Rulan are seen having fun at his office, but Rulan humiliates him by saying that despite having similar wealth, they're not on the same level because Liu is from a poor background. Realizing that Rulan always had a low regard for him, Liu calls Shan and asks her out, intending to pick her up in 2 hours. On the other hand, the mermaids prepare their weapons and hide behind the walls, ready to attack Liu when he arrives. But when Shan opens the door, she discovers that instead of Liu, the guards have arrived to pick her up. Then they bring her to Liu's workplace and inform her that their boss will arrive shortly. Realizing this as an opportunity, Shan immediately poisons the water. But moments later, the head of security arrives to inspect her. He hands Shan a glass of water while taking one for himself, and in a matter of seconds, he starts foaming up from his mouth and collapses to the ground. Shan helps him by pouring alcohol into his mouth, which helps him recover from the poison. However, the staff gives him more water to drink from the same cup, leading him to collapse again. Next, when Shan sees Liu, she starts chasing after him. She tries to attack him with a sea urchin, but ends up getting hit in the head. Shan tries to strike him again, but she fails to notice a glass, causing a sea urchin to become stuck in her head. Then the animal starts to poison her body, but Shan is in no mood to give up. She tries to stab Liu while hiding under the table, but he begins to dance and steps on her hand. Shan hurls the knife at him with all of her strength, but she ends up piercing herself in the act. Just then, Liu turns around and notices Shan lying unconscious behind him. Soon after, Shan gets up and tries to flirt with him again, but Liu tosses money at her and asks her to go away. However, Shan surprises him by turning down his money, which only makes him more confused as he's never met anyone like her. As Liu prepares to leave, he sees Rulan nearby, and in order to make her jealous, he hugs Shan and pretends to be dating her. Meanwhile, Rulan stares at the two of them, full of jealousy. Next, when Liu and Shan get into his car, the latter offers to take him to a roadside diner. But Liu declines her offer, claiming he does not want to eat in such a slum. But since he's starving, Liu starts eating the chicken alongside Shan and finds how delicious the food actually is. As he finishes his meal, Liu starts crying, remembering his childhood, because back in the day, his family was very poor and they had to steal chickens that tasted exactly like this. And that's when Liu vowed to become the richest person in the world so that he would never have to suffer like that again. But on the other hand, Shan reminds him that his ambitions are absurd. She tells him that money is meaningless if the planet can no longer support even a single drop of clean water. Now, to get Shan out of his face, Liu gives her a check for $1 million and tries to leave, but Shan throws the check on the fire. She argues that she doesn't care about money and is only there because she likes him. Hearing this, Liu also starts to feel for her, and the two of them sing a song together. Then Shan takes him on a variety of carnival rides, and Liu also has a great time as he recalls happy childhood memories. Later that night, Liu comes to drop Shan at her house where she claims to live. Just then, Octopus calls her and tells her about his scheme to attack Liu from behind the door. When Liu holds her hand, it seems like Shan has also developed feelings for him. She realizes that if she opens the door, he will be killed in a heartbeat. So she goes inside and instantly locks the door while asking him to leave. Meanwhile, Octopus is enraged that he's missed the target, but Shan receives another phone call from Liu requesting her to go on a second date. At this moment, the mermaids become happy and begin to celebrate Liu's death, but Shan is clearly conflicted about her purpose. The next day, Liu takes Shan to a restaurant where the octopus pretends to be a chef. But before he can attack the billionaire, several bodyguards appear at the scene and interrupt his plan. Having no options now, the octopus pretends that his tentacles are the food and then begins to prepare them on the table. But the chefs worsen the situation by cutting off the tentacles in intensely painful ways. As things spiral out of control, the octopus flees the scene while releasing the black liquid from his mouth. However, Liu doesn't pay much attention to the chaos as he has a more important task at hand. He takes out a wedding ring and places it on Shan's hand and announces his intention to marry her. Shan reminds him that they only met yesterday and that he shouldn't fall in love so quickly, but Liu responds that he's never met anybody like her and doesn't want to lose her. She then pulls a knife out and claims that she's here to kill him, but Liu pushes the knife away and kisses her. Just then, Rulan walks into the room, but Liu gets irritated and tells her to stop following Liu everywhere. Later that night, the wounded octopus is upset that he failed to kill their target again, and he assumes that Shan has fallen in love with their enemy. Although Shan denies the allegation, Octopus demands her to face him in the eyes and vow. During their conversation, they hear a knock on the door, and when Shan opens it, she discovers that Liu has come to apologize. However, he's taken aback by her fishtail fin and the presence of other mermaids in the room. But before he can say anything, Liu is caught and knocked out. Sometime later, Liu regains consciousness and sees the mermaids who were hurt by his sonar. The octopus yells at him furiously, making him acknowledge how his business has harmed his tribe. He decides to kill the billionaire right away, but Liu begs him to stop, claiming that his death won't stop the sonars from working. Liu asks for another chance so that he can turn off the equipment immediately, but the octopus starts choking him violently. Just then, Shan chops off the octopus's tentacle and asks Liu to flee, while everyone stares at her in disbelief. Following that, Liu visits the police station to report the kidnapping, but no one believes him and they make fun of him. He then returns to his office and declares that he wants to personally test the sonar. As the machine begins to run, huge shockwaves charge at him, causing severe pain and prompting him to scream for it to stop. But to his surprise, the doctor informs him that they only use 10% of the machine's power. Liu quickly orders the board members to stop using the sonars, but they all object to his decision since the project is already underway. When Rulan arrives, she unexpectedly sides with Liu and asks the sonars to be switched off. They eventually turn off the sonars, but Rulan is curious as to why the plan has suddenly changed. Thinking he can trust her, Liu tells her the whole story about the mermaids, but Rulan doesn't appear surprised because her team has been looking for mermaids for a long time. Rulan reveals that they've already discovered many mermaid corpses and that they're now able to collect live samples, which will allow them to make incredible profits for their business. Realizing that Rulan is planning to harm the mermaids, Liu tries to call Shan, but she doesn't pick up. Having no other option, he decides to drive quickly to the mermaid's boat. On the other hand, Rulan orders all of her troops to proceed toward the island as they get ready to capture every mermaid they can. When the mercenaries enter the boat, they immediately start firing, severely wounding many of the mermaids. The victims are compelled to emerge from hiding as they scramble to avoid the gunshots, but as a result, they're left trapped on the surface. Meanwhile, when Shan leaps out of the water to leave, she's encircled by the mercenaries. Fortunately, the octopus uses his tentacles to prevent her from being caught and sends her in the direction of a waterfall. However, she's once again caught in a massive net by the troops. The men then try to kill her, but an enormous wave hits them and throws them into the water. Then an elderly mermaid appears to protect her people. She extends her huge tail and smacks the ocean with great force, which causes enormous waves that completely swallow the humans. Meanwhile, the elderly mermaid discovers that the sonars are no longer working, and she tells the remaining survivors to flee to the oceans. Shan also tries to flee into the ocean, but she's soon stopped and attacked by one of the hooks. Just then, Rulan arrives in a chopper and fires the missile at Shan, setting off a massive underwater explosion. Shan is hurled onto the ground as a result, and her body's seriously injured by the attack. The mercenaries soon encircle her while Rulan orders them to kill her. But Liu flies in to save Shan and also orders the men to stop. However, Rulan has no intention of stopping. She takes the revolver and shoots without hesitation, striking Liu multiple times. Despite this, Liu still doesn't give up and releases Shan into the ocean as the cops rush toward him for help. 3 years later, a student shows up at Liu's house to express his gratitude for establishing a scholarship for the Environmental Protection Program. The student asks him if the mermaids exist and whether the rumor that he once fell in love with a mermaid is true. But Liu denies his claims as his memories flash before his eyes. He then introduces the student to his wife Lucy, who's actually Shan in human disguise. Then they encourage the student to travel and discover the world. As the movie comes to an end, we see Liu and Shan swimming in the ocean with the other mermaids.